Good morning. Is it coming clear? Voice is clear. Hi everyone. Good morning. Mamta, Drupad, Mahendra, Rahul, Archit, Soni, Subodh. Good to see all of you. So, so in the morning session today, we were discussing about inflation and so on. So, in fact, I would like to dedicate this week, okay, entire this week in terms of macroeconomics. Okay, and I'm going to start with inflation today, uh, and then take you deep into the world of inflation, and also we will give you a small little framework called inflate, which you can definitely use in your day-to-day uh, you know profession. All right, chalo, let's start. Vishwanath, Dipalo, Gopala, श्रीनिवासन, इंद्रपाल, वेलकम वेलकम। ओके, देखो मुझे एक चीज़ बताओ, इन द लास्ट वन ईयर हैव यू एवर फेल्ट दैट कि the petrol and diesel prices have become more expensive, or groceries ka cost has gone up, and or maybe dining out has become little heavier on the pocket? हाँ, ऐसा हुआ है in the last 1 year that petrol prices have suddenly feel, yeah, petrol in fact has been largely stable in India last 1 year, काफ़ी चढ़ चुका है already, but definitely groceries and dining out, eating out feels heavier, movie tickets have become heavier, costlier and so on. Now देखो, next question is, how many of your clients have ever said that expenses बढ़ गया है, savings कम हो रहा है? Right? Yes, if it has been experienced. Any of your clients have told you expenses बढ़ गया है, savings कम हो रहा है? Anyone? Okay, not for Karthikeyan, surprisingly, but Dipalok says yes, salary class says. Okay, okay, okay. All right. Now, here is the most important question. When inflation rises, what happens to the stock market? Does it go up? Does it go down? Or does it depend on what? क्या होता है जब इन्फ्लेशन बढ़ता है, what happens to the stock market? Okay. देखो, inflation is not just a headline number. It is one of the biggest forces driving markets. Inflation is not just a headline number. That is the biggest force which is driving markets. And let me say something very clearly. Markets don't move randomly. They react to interest rates, they react to liquidity, and most importantly, they react to inflation. Okay? And if we don't understand inflation, you will always feel like market suddenly गिर गया है. Suddenly कुछ नहीं होता है. Suddenly war हो सकता है. Suddenly sector change हो गया. No. But when you understand inflation, you will start seeing the patterns. You will start anticipating the moves. Because inflation doesn't affect the economy. Inflation doesn't just affect the economy, it affects company profits, it affects investor behavior, and then market valuations. And so today's session is about simplifying this. Not in complex economic terms, but such that you can understand quickly, explain to clients clearly, and apply it to your overall portfolio thinking. Okay? So give me a minute. I'm going to download my presentation deck and get started. Just a second. Just give me a minute and I will be good to start. Okay? The silent force shaping your returns. Okay? So, and we are going to run a series on this week. Okay? How rising prices quietly dictate equity markets. देखो, inflation fundamentally means your money is buying less. जितना पैसा था उससे पहले जितना खरीदारी कर सकते थे उसके कंपैरिजन में यू आर बाइंग लेस. सो क्या होता है, कंज्यूमर स्पेंडिंग मनी बाइज लेस, सो कंज्यूमर स्पेंडिंग घट जाता है. ओके. सेकेंडली, कंपनी प्रॉफिट्स, कॉस्ट एस्केलेट होता है, कंपनी प्रॉफिट्स घट जाता है. स्टॉक वैल्यूएशंस में चेंज होता है, सो कंज्यूमर स्पेंडिंग में चेंज होता है, कंपनी प्रॉफिट्स में चेंज होता है, स्टॉक वैल्यूएशंस में कॉस्ट एस्केलेट होता है, इंटरेस्ट रेट्स में शिफ्ट होता है. और बाकी ये जो तीन चीज़ है ना, दिस इज़ वेयर द रियल गेम शुरू होता है. सो इसका एक डोमिनो इफेक्ट है. डोमिनो इफेक्ट बिगिंस एट द रॉ मटेरियल लेवल फर्स्ट. सो जैसे इन्फ्लेशन चढ़ता है, okay, so first thing is that your fuel prices becomes expensive. Generally that is the starting point. Raw material cost बढ़ने से पहले the first is the fuel prices, because fuel prices change every day. It's an international market से, so in fact it changes every minute. जैसे equity price movements होता है, जैसे gold का price movement होता है, वैसे ही fuel prices का भी change होता है हर minute. Okay, so raw materials become expensive, fuel prices become expensive. Okay, सो कंपनी कॉस्ट उसके कारण बढ़ता है. कंपनीज फेस हायर इनपुट कॉस्ट. अगर कुछ सामान रॉ मटेरियल्स का कॉस्ट बढ़ेगा, सो ऑब्वियसली हायर इनपुट कॉस्ट, एंड दैट पुट्स अ प्रेशर ऑन देयर मार्जिन्स, प्रॉफिट मार्जिन्स, ऑपरेटिंग मार्जिन्स एंड सो ऑन. नाउ दिस राइजिंग प्राइसेस actually how a company operates, separates whether it's a strong company और ए वीक ऑपरेटर. स्ट्रॉन्ग कंपनीज क्या होता है, हायर प्राइसिंग पावर रहता है. दे पास ऑन, दे हैव एन एबिलिटी टू पास ऑन द कॉस्ट टू द कंज्यूमर्स एंड दे आर एबल टू मेंटेन मार्जिन्स. सपोज मैं कुछ सामान 100 रुपये में बेच रहा हूँ, ओके, अभी मेरा जो इनपुट कॉस्ट था दैट वाज 90 रुपीज़, आई वाज मेकिंग ए मार्जिन ऑफ 10 रुपीज़. ओके, नाउ 90 रुपीज़ बढ़ के 95 हो गया. If I am a strong company, I will pass on that 5 rupees to my consumer and say आज से ये 100 रुपये नहीं 105 रुपये है, and I will maintain my margin. वीक कंपनी क्या होगा ना, वो कॉस्ट को एब्जॉर्ब कर लेगा, वो पास ऑन नहीं कर सकता है. सो दे हैव लोअर प्राइसिंग पावर एंड दैट्स व्हेन प्रॉफिट्स कोलैप्स. सेंट्रल बैंक reactions inevitably compress equity multiple. So क्या होता है? So central banks react to rising prices by increasing interest rates to control inflation. सेंट्रल बैंक का ये काम है. अगर इन्फ्लेशन काफ़ी बढ़ रहा है, they will try to control that by increasing interest rates, and if inflation starts to come down, they are going to support it by decreasing interest rates. Okay, and in that process equity valuations either compress or expand. Okay, higher interest rates means future earnings become less valuable. So that's the mathematical result of a PE, जो हम लोग एक सेशन में करेंगे, डिटेल्स में जाएंगे कि PE से कैसे ये सब मूवमेंट होता है. ओके, इन्फ्लेशन हिट्स प्रॉफिट फर्स्ट, पहला प्रॉफिट को हिट करेगा. इक्विटी वैल्यूएशंस विल कम नेक्स्ट. ओके, नाउ हाउ डू यू पोजिशन योर पोर्टफोलियोज फॉर इन्फ्लेशनरी एनवायरमेंट्स. ओके, कुछ टेलविंड्स होते हैं, ओके, जो आपको सपोर्ट देता है, वो कुछ हवा सामने से आता है, द हेडविंड्स विच एक्चुअली pushes you back. Okay, so tailwinds which helps you support are strong pricing powers. Okay, strong pricing power companies, FMCGs to an extent, energy and commodities, businesses with very low debt, जिनके पास ज़्यादा बोरिंग नहीं है ना, these are the companies which actually get the support. But there are companies which are called high debt. They always fall first. जिनके पास borrowing costs high है, low margin businesses, okay, highly valuation sensitive, growth sensitive companies. So यहाँ पर ना एक 7 framework model आपके लिए use कर सकते हैं. Inflate, okay. So these are the macro indicators. Inflate framework for macro indicators. I stands for identifying inflation trend. Okay, पहला वहीं से ट्रेंड किस तरफ है, इन्फ्लेशन ऊपर की तरफ जा रही है कि नीचे की तरफ उतर रही है. चेक इफ द ट्रेंड इज राइजिंग, स्टेबल और फॉलिंग. N comes, note down the interest rate direction. Remember that rising rates equal to a pressure on equity. Because inflation is going up, you will start to see interest rates also going up, because inflation को कंट्रोल करना है तो RBI इंटरेस्ट रेट्स को बढ़ा देगा. ओके, नेक्स्ट कम्स F. F stands for focusing on pricing power. Now in this situation, choose companies or funds which have proven ability to pass on costs. अगर इन्फ्लेशन बढ़ रहा है, मार्जिन श्रिंक करेगा, रॉ मटेरियल्स कॉस्ट बढ़ेगा, कंपनीज का मार्जिन श्रिंक करेगा. All those companies who are leaders, they will be able to pass on that extra cost to the consumers. Focus on those companies. Focus on funds which invest into those companies. L stands for limiting exposure to high leverage. Leverage. L stands for leverage. Okay. जितने कंपनीज है NBFCs, रियल एस्टेट, जैसे इंटरेस्ट रेट्स चढ़ते हैं ना, ऑल दिस कंपनीज डगमगाता है. एक्टिवली अवॉइड हाई डेट कंपनीज. हाई इन्फ्लेशन जोन में ना ऑलवेज अवॉइड कंपनीज विच आर हाई ऑन लेवरेज. A stands for allocating across styles. Okay. Never allocate to one style only. Always have a mix. Don't go for all growth. Mix between value, defensive, cyclical allocations. Allocate across styles. Track the margins. T stands for tracking margins. Closely watch company profitability trends as a leading indicator. Company का margins बढ़ रहा है कि घट रहा है? If the margins are increasing, it's phenomenal. And definitely expect volatility. Accept that an inflation phase guarantees uncertain markets and sharp movement. देखो ये होना ही है. Sharp movement भी आएगा. Inflation जैसे ही घटते रहेगा, interest rates घटेगा and sharp movement आएगा. And the reverse will happen. Even if you are investing into a basket or portfolio where it's a mix of value, defensive, cyclical, growth and all that, still there would be tremendous amount of volatility. Okay. आपका जो क्लाइंट के साथ जो कन्वर्सेशन होता है, ओके, उसको ना एलिवेट करिए. डोंट जस्ट से कि मार्केट गिर रहा है इन्फ्लेशन के कारण. ओके. राइजिंग इन्फ्लेशन इज प्रेशराइजिंग मार्जिन्स एंड वैल्यूएशन. दोनों में शब्दों में अंतर है. व्हेन रेट्स गो अप, मार्केट्स गो डाउन. इट्स करेक्ट. हायर इंटरेस्ट रेट्स रिड्यूस वैल्यूएशन मल्टीपल्स. These are the two ways, institutional language and retail language. This sector is doing well. This sector benefits from the current inflation environment. Remember, the advisor who understands inflation doesn't react to markets. They anticipate them. 2026 में बैठ के, if you can figure out where the inflation would be in the years 2027 and 28, you would be in a position to identify and guesstimate in which direction the markets are going to move. Inflation decides which companies survive and which companies struggle. Remember, inflation is not just a number, it is a silent force shaping your portfolio returns. We are going to go deep into this world of inflation in tomorrow's session and then use it to build our portfolios. All the very best, everyone. Have a great day ahead, and I'll see you tomorrow exactly at 10:10 in continuation of this series on macroeconomics and inflation. All the best.